Hello everyone, TMMgamer here, and today I have the pleasure of bringing you something a little bit different. Now, on my last video when I uploaded a 15-4 gameplay on Heart Attack with a striker, I had a recommendation that I show you guys my ultimate team, show you what formations I play with and what formations I would recommend on online mode. So here's my ultimate team. As you can see, it's pretty beastly. I had the fortune of getting a Team of the Year Iker Casillas in a pack around January, the special black coloured card, you know, with the Vidic and Puyol and all those sorts of people in. Yeah, so I got him, sold him for about 500,000 coins. So this is a pretty beastly team. This team and the bench is worth about 200,000, and I've got just over 300,000 left to spend. So what I'm going to do is wait for the new Team of the Year cards, all the blue players, to go down in value a bit. Then I'm going to fill this team full of superstars. But let's run you through it a little bit. Now, the formation I play with is 4-3-2-1, as you can see on the left hand side of the screen. Now, this is a really good formation because it offers you a good balance between attack and defense, and that is the most important thing when you're playing online, because you see a lot of people play with 5 at the back or 3 at the back, and 5 at the back makes you incredibly solid and incredibly tough to break down. But the problem is you're forced to play incredibly direct because you've got so little players upfield. Once the defence gets back into position, you can't break through unless you have a shot from distance. So if you play with 5 at the back, you're really limiting yourself going forward. And 3 at the back is just a nightmare, especially on an ultimate team, because imagine, for example, I was playing against a guy with 3 centre-halves. Now, I've got Didier Drogba, Ashley Young and Gareth Bale, and the vast majority of players at this point will have players of the equal standard or sometimes even better. So if you play with 3 at the back, you are severely limiting yourself against players who play 3 up top like I do, because it only takes 1-1-2 and your defence is gone and you're steaming through, and if Bale or Ashley Young are running clear, there's no defender in the world that's going to catch them. So you're very open at the back when you're playing with just 3 defenders. So what I like to do is have 4 at the back all of the time with 2 regular centre-halves and 2 fairly attacking wing-backs or full-backs. So in this case, I've gone for Vidic and company. So Vidic is just fantastic. He's really strong, really good in the air, great at tackling. And then company he's so much better than his 84 rating suggests. You know, he's very pacey for a centre-half. He's a beast, really strong, great in the air once again. So that's a nice, solid base of the team. But then you've got the pace of the fullbacks, Sanya and Evra, who get up and down the wings very well. And that's what I like about having 3 midfielders and 2 fullbacks who get forward, because sometimes when you play with just 3 midfielders, you can get quite narrow. So what I like to do is bring my fullbacks forward. And if you play on a balanced strategy, your fullbacks do get forward quite often, but you can send them on run yourself by clicking L1. And that's what I like to do, because it shifts the opposition across the field, and that gets even more space on the opposite flank for the switch or for the pass into midfield, and you've got a little bit more space to work with. So the fullbacks pushing forward give your team something slightly different, because when the player sets up against you, he'll think just about your midfield and won't really appreciate that your fullbacks will get forward. So that's a really good balanced defence. When I ever play on Ultimate Team or on online head-to-head, I always like to have a holding midfielder. It's not really a defensive position on FIFA, because what I like the midfielders to do is sit on the halfway line and spray passes forward. That's why I like players like Esteban Cambiasso if you're doing a Serie A team, or Yaya Toure, Michael Essien, you know, players like that, because they're nice and strong, they're quick and mobile, so they can get back, put tackles in, but their main use is going forward, because you've got such a solid centre-back pairing behind them. You don't need to play someone incredibly defensive like a Martinez in that role. You want to play someone a little bit more mobile who can get forward, spray some passes, and that's why I like that. And then either side of him, you've got the 2 Spurs tricksters. You've got Modric on his left, and then you've got Van der Vaart if he wasn't injured on his right. Now, what I like to do with midfielders is play them so their strongest foot is on the inside. That's because you want them to cut inside and create extra space for your fullbacks getting forward. Because I have Modric on the right, I naturally begin to drift in field. Now, this forces his left midfielder to come in, his right midfielder, sorry, to come in to try and pick up Modric. Because if he leaves him, it's 3-on-2 in the midfield for my 3 midfielders, so I can pass around his midfield. So he's forced to get narrower. Now, this gives absolute bombs of space for Evra and Sanya to get forward, and this in turn pulls them out. And as that gets pulled out, holes begin to appear because the defence isn't sure whether it's going narrow or wide, and that's the time when you can weave in the front 3 of Ashley Young, Didier Drogba and Gareth Bale. Now, I always like to have a balanced attack on the front 3. You see some people who go all the way and have 3 or 4 beasts up front, like the Falcaos, the Drogbas, that sort of player, and equally you see some people who go completely the other way and go up front with a Bonlahor, Lennon and Walcott just for the pace. Now, sometimes you are going to meet defenders who can deal with one type of attack. For example, if I'm up against Nemanja Vidic, Drogba's going to have a hard time. And yeah, I mean, as big and strong as Drogba is on FIFA, someone like a Vidic, someone like a Gerard Piqué, a Chiellini, these sorts of centre-halves will compete with Drogba. But what very few centre-halves in the game can do is defend against every threat. That's why I like Vincent Kompany so much. He's so good at defending against multiple types of attack. I've got to have him in my team. But when you come up against people online, there's very few centre-halves in the world that can defend against Drogba's strength and the pace and trickery in Bale and Young. So you get all of this blended together. And bearing in mind, you've got such a solid defence, you've got such a talented midfield, you've got fullbacks getting up the pitch to give you width, and then you've got these three incredibly talented, incredibly powerful finishers up top, and it's just a brilliant blend of a formation. That's why I love this formation so much. Now, there are a couple others that I want to talk you through very, very quickly, based on roughly the same idea. The first one I want to show you is the one I actually used to play on my friend's Xbox. Now, we have a Serie A team, and we do a very slight variation on the formation that I play on my PS3. Now, as you can see, it's changed only really up front. You know, the same back four, same midfield, but instead of having one striker and two supporting wingers, you have two strikers and one centre forward. Now, the team that I have on my mate's Xbox is Ibrahimovic, Cavani and Di Natale in the whole. Now, that is a fantastic partnership. The thing with the Italian league, they don't particularly have any fantastic wingers that to speak of. So if you are in a league that perhaps you don't like the wingers, or you want to play slightly more direct, this is the formation for you. Because my friend, he always plays very, very narrow, gets it into a centre forward, and then tries to find space from there. So this is the formation for you if you enjoy playing that way. Now, the great thing by having someone like Di Natale in the hole, or who would I use in the Premier League? Someone like Luis Suarez, even though I don't particularly like the guy. That sort of player, Sergio Aguero in the hole, someone who's fantastic on the ball, but can shoot from distance, is quick, so they're mobile. And the great thing about having Di Natale in the hole in that position is he's quite strong and good in the air as well. So you have a third striker, and they tend to arrive late in the box. So you've got your two strikers who will compete with the centre-halves, and then you'll get Di Natale or Aguero or whoever you choose in that centre-forward role to run in quickly and pick up on the scraps. And 90% of the goals Di Natale scores on Ultimate Team for me when I play with him are little tap-ins, near post headers, dropping in on the edge of the area, and he'll put it in. Very, very simple goals. But sometimes you just need to score the simple goals. And when you play with like Ibrahimovic, Drogba, Falcao, someone very, very powerful up front, you're going to get a lot of knockdowns. And having a centre forward is a very, very good way to guarantee that about 50% of those knockdowns will drop to him. You're not going to get lucky all the time, but it only needs one chance, and someone as talented as any of those players will put it in. So this is a very, very good formation. The last one I want to talk to you about before I go off, if I can find it, is one more. 4-1-2-1-2. Now, 4-1-2-1-2 is the formation I played with all of last year's FIFA. It is a fantastic balanced formation. Now, I don't think I've got the players to actually show you how I would play this properly, but I will have a quick experimentation. Do I have another winger? Okay, I'll put Kalou in, but I'm not going to actually recommend to buy Kalou. He's a decent squad player, but by this stage you need to have moved on. But this is how I would play a 4-1-2-1-2, obviously with Bale on the wing and another striker up front. The great thing about 4-1-2-1-2 is it gives you a little bit more solidity at the back than just those flat three midfielders, because occasionally what you find with, say, the 4-3-1-2 or the 4-3-2-1, sorry, you get caught on the counter-attack a little bit, because your flat three midfielders aren't really acting as defensive midfielders. Even though the central one is slightly deeper, deepest he's going to get on attack is the edge of the centre circle. So occasionally, if you're up against a team with very, very quick strikers, you need a defensive midfielder, and Yaya Toure is absolutely fantastic in this role. He will sit a little bit deeper in this formation, give you a little bit more time, and he gives your defenders a much easier ball out, because if you're playing against a guy who packs the midfield, Yaya Toure will drop into a bit of space and you can lay the ball off and start an attack. Equally, if you're playing against a guy who, like I described earlier, plays with the centre forward, that Di Natale, that Aguero, having a defensive midfielder can help to neutralise him a lot, because centre forwards on FIFA have a habit of dropping into space. They'll play right up top with the front three when the ball's getting cleared, and then all of a sudden they'll stop running and just drop. And now if you have a centre defensive midfielder, he will drop in and occupy some of that space and make it a lot more difficult for players. So that's a really good way to do it. This is a fantastic formation to play with the Premier League, because the Premier League's got so many good wingers. It's a great way of getting them into the side. And obviously I've got Ashley Young on one side, and Kalu on the other. Now, I obviously wouldn't recommend them. I'd recommend someone like Antonio Valencia and Nani, someone of that type. You know, even Juan Mata. Juan Mata in this formation is fantastic because these players aren't the out-and-out wingers. You know, the four in midfield isn't particularly wide. It's a fairly narrow four, but once again, that means your fullbacks can get forward. And in this formation, your fullbacks have a lot more support because sometimes when you're playing with just a three in midfield, you can get forward with the fullback and he finds himself a little isolated against the winger and the defending fullback. But in this formation, the wingers can drift wide, the fullbacks can run inside, or equally when the wingers get tighter, the fullbacks can go outside and keep the space. So you're much more attacking in this formation, but equally, you're a lot more solid in the centre. The only thing I would advise against is if you're playing with against a player who, for example, plays 4-2-3-1, so packs the central midfield, gets a lot of players into the midfield, you can find it quite difficult to get the ball moving. So that's why personally I have gone for the 4-3-1-2 or the 4-3-2-1 this year, because it means that whoever you're playing against, you're going to get a decent amount of ball in midfield, and sometimes when you are playing 4-1-2-1-2, you can just bog down in midfield. It's very, very difficult. And when you get stuck in your own half in Ultimate Team, it only takes one slight mistake or one bit of bad luck, and the ball can fly in the back of the net. So these are the three formations I would recommend. They all are very, very strong formations. Whichever one you go with is a good choice. You know, there are other ones that I have seen a lot of people play. Oops, gone out accidentally there. But, you know, for example, I started on this FIFA at 4-2-3-1, and I found you can't really attack enough. I like to have two strikers, I like to have four at the back, and then the rest can sort of mingle in somewhere. But this is another good formation. I play this on head-to-head more than I do Ultimate Team, because for some reason Ultimate Team seems a faster game than head-to-head. You know, it's a lot more counter-attacky, there's a lot more direct play, and sometimes you find yourself very, very isolated in defence with this, because the two central attacking midfield players get right up the pitch and the two central defenders drop deep. So basically the middle of the park, you've got no one there. So it's very, very easy for you to have the ball intercepted and then them to counter-enforce. So I don't really use this formation on Ultimate Team, but it is a good one for head-to-head if you're looking to play tight and then you're looking to counter-attacking numbers, because you'll always have 3 or 4 players upfield ready to launch a counter-attack for you. So those are the formations I would recommend. My personal favourite is 4-3-1-2 with the centre forwards, but you know, all the variations that I've shown you are also very, very good formations. So guys, I really hope you've enjoyed this. Hope you've enjoyed looking at my Ultimate Team. It is going to improve soon, and hopefully I'll get some Ultimate Team gameplay up for you soon. So guys, once again, thank you so much for watching, and have a fantastic day.